So this little video is to show you really quickly what the templates are, and they're already made by our friends at Google. So in my Google Drive here, I'm just going to go to New. I'm going to go down to More. And when I get to Google Forms, I'm not going to click on it. I'm going to go across and open up the templates. And the templates for education are down here. And again, they're all modifiable, so you can easily change them to make them your model, but they have a blank quiz, an exit ticket assessment worksheet. I'm going to play with the exit ticket. This exit ticket is already made to be one that is a disposition question series, so 3 questions on how students learned, but no demonstration of learning. So you could easily modify something like this, or you could keep this one and then just make another version of it to use for content. So let's say if this was your generic exit ticket, and this would be always make one that's going to be never modified, that's going to be your template. So you might call it that, and I just put that word first so that it's very visible up here. So let's say this is your template. You want to modify it so that you have first and last names, not just one name. So you could put first name and then add another question. And notice how when I type, it's going to change from automatically being in multiple choice. It'll notice what I'm doing and it'll go to short answer and make that required. So let's say I have now first name, last name. Maybe you don't need email. You could easily then just delete it by clicking on it and putting it in the trash can. You could also add some questions to this, and let's say you wanted to add some questions before these 3. Let's say you wanted to put in some actual math questions. So you could type in your questions. They're multiple choice. Add just by clicking. You could add how many options that students have. Always make them required. Or if you wanted to use things that had more complicated mathematical language in it, didn't want to have to retype all of that, you could use the image feature, pull up your own, pull up some possible choices. This is problematic. So let's say you wanted to use this question, you would just, this is me using the screenshot feature on my computer, which is a Mac. It's Command-Shift-4 so that I can make a small, use my crosshairs to make a small clip. Command-Shift-3 would get the whole page, but why make the whole page? And this can be done now on all computers. It's a very simple series of steps. You can just Google it. So I photographed that. I'm going to put in the exit ticket instead of retyping. Just drag it in by saying I want to use the image feature, and then just pull it off of my desktop, which is where I store things when I screenshot them. And there you have the question, and you could add your answers, your responses, again, by screenshotting them, because each one of these would allow you to add a photograph if you'd rather, or you can write them in. So that's a template exit ticket. That's screaming at you to prevent you from making the mistake of using that one and then not having it. So once you have a template, then you would make multiple copies, and you would use your you want to set it up the way you want to use it before you make those copies, so you have the same information consistently rather than having to set those settings every time. So in my case, mine automatically comes to this. I would obviously uncheck that. If you wanted students to see responses, you could do that. You could collect emails. You could have them see a progress bar. You could shuffle the question order, which I don't recommend. And the quizzes feature, the moment you do that, it allows you to release back to the student immediately after they submit how they did or later. And then for that, that's why you have the email collection. You don't have to use the email collection, but that would make it much simpler for yourself, because then it would send out to all the students how they did, but they'd have to go into their email to retrieve it. So this would allow you to look at it first. You can also select any of these boxes. You can have them see any questions they missed. You can have them see correct answers. You can have them see or not see the point values of anything. When you use this feature, it automatically allows you to add, when you're in the question, an answer key, because if you want them to see if they have a correct answer, you have to indicate what the answer is. So when you click on answer key, then it would allow you then to put in the correct one. If it was option 1, then once you click on it, it gives you that check mark and it says, I know that's the correct answer. You could also add feedback. So let's say you give them a question, has 4 choices for answers, and you know that students often make a specific error if they fail to do, let's say, the second step. They just went from the first step to the end. You could say, for this option A or option 1, if they got that incorrect, you could put in, students often fail to notice the second step. One, important part of answering questions is to read them through before starting to solve. That's for incorrect answer feedback. You can also give them feedback for correct answers. You can put a link in there instead and send them to some site that you want them to go watch a video. If you got this wrong, I want you to go watch this video. So that is the setup of your master ticket. Now, obviously, in this case, this would have to be changed every time, the answer key, because if you have questions, then that would be different. But then that's your template. Then you want to make your copies, and that's where you use this little menu over here. And then you make a bunch of copies, and you would want to make templates for every one of your classes. So let's say make a copy, and you would name this 7A template, and obviously put it in your 7A folder, and then you would make a 7B, and so on, so that you have made your master exit ticket, and it's all set and ready to go. So it's the same approach for every single one of these. And by the way, once you make all those other ones, and this is 7Bs, you then automatically are going to be populating a different spreadsheet. Now, the other important part about populating a different spreadsheet is that when you go to create that spreadsheet for your responses, it will always remind you, do you want a new one? Or do you want to go into the same old one? Like if you wanted to collect data over time and put it all in one place for 7B, which I do not recommend because it's just too much data, you could then go and select an existing spreadsheet. But this automatically defaults to a new spreadsheet, which is really good. So that's their exit ticket template. Now, if we go in here and we look at a template for a quiz, it's already set up, I believe, to be grading itself. Assessment, same thing. I'm pretty sure they're already set up to be in that quiz mode. Let's find out. We'll go into the assessment one. And we can look at the settings.